What the actual F happened in 2024? Welcome to Business Chat. If you're new here, my name is Jen. If not, welcome back. Today we're going to discuss 2024 and what the actual heck happened. I have spoken with many vendors who have said 2024 was just the worst year that they ever had selling anything. And I concur. It was the worst year since COVID, for sure. I feel like sales have been trending down since COVID, or at least since 2021. 2021 was a fantastic year, but I think it was mainly because people wanted to get out and they hadn't been able to do any kind of shopping of that nature in 2020. So I had low sales at almost every single event that I did. Some of my events that I went to were 50% or less of the prior year. And in this video, I would like to try to figure out why. Why were sales so bad? Because it wasn't just my sales, it was everybody's sales all around. I could question my prices. And well, I didn't have too many people that were complaining about my prices. I have not increased my prices by a large scale in 3 or 4 years, not since everything opened back up after COVID. I wouldn't say that my prices are high. They're very reasonable for what I sell. I've seen so many other vendors increasing their prices quite a bit. And that was something where I spoke with a vendor who had said that they raised their prices, and even though they sold less product, they did make more money, which makes sense. And they also had less to restock, which also makes sense. That would be something that I would consider doing and have considered doing. Around the early part of the year or midsummer, I increased my toddler long sleeve prices from $15 to $20. I ran the numbers and found that I really could not make any sort of a profit of any sort charging $15 for toddler long sleeve shirts. Toddler long sleeve shirts are extremely hard to come by and they're not cheap. Then at the end of 2024, I increased my infant things to $20 and then my toddler short sleeve shirts. So now I am charging $20 all around for toddler, infant, and youth short sleeve and long sleeve, which I don't feel is out of the question. But I don't believe that prices are the reason that people weren't buying. The weather is always hit or miss. I wouldn't say that we got overly extreme weather events in 2024 any more so than we had gotten in 2023 and even 2022. When you do events that are outdoor markets, you always run the risk of the weather being crappy. Those events are planned so far in advance that you really, there's no way to know if it's going to be good weather or bad weather when you're planning it 3 or 4 months in advance. And when you put money down on something and apply for it, and unless you look at the weather and it's going to be a hurricane or torrential downpours or something like that, you've already paid for the event, and a lot of times you won't get your money back if the event still goes on and the organizer doesn't cancel it. So there wasn't too many of those any different than 2023 or 2022. I had 1 or 2 events that actually did get canceled, but one of them I didn't pay for at all. The other one ended up being rescheduled for a later time, and that's generally a good event for me, and it's an event that I will go to in 2025 as well. I've got to make a mental note to go to that one. It was at a weird time of year. It was, I think it was the end of October that this event took place, and it was not overly warm. Not very many people came. It was an outdoor music event, and not very many people came out to it. So it's not one that I would write off, especially since it was actually very close to my house, 12 miles, and it was free. So I wouldn't say that weather played a huge part in how bad sales and everything went in 2024. I believe the main culprit is the high cost of everything. I've had many fellow vendors talking about, of course, the low sales, but also how much the cost of everything has increased. One of the vendors that I know makes soaps, and she was saying that the price of olive oil doubled, so she was going to have to increase her prices because of that. Which, yeah, that's a factor in making the products, but also I feel like wages definitely did not increase enough to balance out the amount that everything in general was costing. The gas prices were fairly high, and they stayed pretty steady, and actually they're still pretty steady. Around here, the gas prices, I believe, went up to almost $4 a gallon. They did drop a little bit around, I think September, October, around election time. They did drop a little bit, but they were above $3 a gallon, and they still are above $3 a gallon, and they're kind of hovering. I believe the local gas station that I go to is like $3.24 right now, and they're one of the lower ones in my area. There's a lot that are around $3.50. That's kind of been the normal. So the gas prices have not really been cheap. The food prices, food appears to have gone up considerably as well. I feel like the consumer in 2024 was very particular about what they were buying. When I went to craft events, consumers would look at stuff and they were very particular about what they wanted to buy. If they wanted to buy something, they would buy it. I try to kind of gear people towards buying gifts for somebody. Like when somebody will come into my booth around Christmas time, I will greet them and say, "Hi, how are you doing? Finish your Christmas shopping, get everything done. Do you know of anybody that needs tie-dye as a gift?" Stuff like that to promote my item as a gift style item, because I feel like a lot of consumers are not buying for themselves. I find that, and generally, a lot of the times, people are going and buying tie-dye for other people. Most of my infant stuff will be friends of a pregnant mama buying onesies for their friend, for their baby that they haven't had yet, or if they're, the baby was just born, they'll buy them for their friend. A lot of times it is not consumers buying for themselves, it's them gifting to somebody else. So I try to gear towards that kind of thing, because a lot of times I know that when I'm getting people that are my age or people that are my parents' age coming in and looking at onesies, they're not buying it for themselves, they're buying it for their grandchild. But we've already discussed selling. This isn't going to be about how to sell your products. Many of the other vendors that I talk to, besides talking about price increases of their product and their supplies, also stated that they feel like the prices of everything else have gone up. I have found that items that are non-necessities are the items that people had a tendency to pass over the most, they would say, well, I'm gonna wait and come back later, or I'm gonna think about it and come back. It's not something that they needed as a necessity. Although when you go to a craft fair, a lot of the stuff that's sold there all around is not a necessity. I wouldn't say that alcohol vendors had low sales per se. I think that alcohol vendors did have less sales, but I feel that they still had a continuous supply of people stopping by their booths. So I guess I've kind of ran out of things to really talk about as far as why I think 2024 was such a bad year for sales. And what do you guys think? What have you guys experienced as far as your sales in 2024? Did you notice a steady decline or a sharp decline in 2024 as opposed to other years? Do you guys sell an item that you would consider to be essential? I would love to know some of your experiences with this. So please leave comments and suggestions and chat about whatever happened to you down in the comment section below. I thank you for tuning in to today's business chat. My name is Jen, and this is Sugary Tie-Dye.